Today on Ask This Old House.
There's a drill bit for every job. I'll show you which does what.
And I'm heading to a test lab to see how new toilets deliver the best flush with the least amount of water.
We flushed down 100 3/4-inch poly balls.
Don't try this at home.
It has to go down a minimum of 40 feet, and we're flushing at 1.28 gallons per flush.
Look at that thing go.
Oh, I love it. It's a cozy little space, full sun.
Yeah,
This works.
it's great to sit outside, have a cup of coffee, do some gardening.
And you can have a garden even in the middle of the city. I'll show you how.
For projects around the house, Home Advisor helps find local pros to do the work. You can check ratings, read customer reviews, and book appointments with pros online at homeadvisor.com. Home Advisor is proud to support Ask This Old House.
Hi, Meredith.
Hi, Jen. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Check out this pergola.
Thanks. Yeah, it's got some grapes growing on it.
Did you plant those yourself?
No, these were planted by the previous homeowner, but I do love to garden. Unfortunately, down here there's not a lot of space, so I do most of my gardening up on the deck.
It's where there's more sunlight as well.
Absolutely. Do you want to come check it out?
I would love to.
So here's the deck off of the master bedroom.
Oh, I love it. It's a cozy little space, full sun.
Yeah,
This works.
it's great to sit outside, have a cup of coffee, do some gardening. We grow some peppers, cucumbers, zucchini. The only problem is the planters we have used to fit on the railings quite nicely, but now we had to replace the railings because the old ones rotted, and these new ones, they just have this curve to them, so we can't fit the planters on them anymore.
Right, nothing will stay attached.
No.
Well, now that they're all over the ground, it's totally taken up a lot of your space.
Yeah.
So I think I have a solution to help you get that space back.
Great.
All right, I'll be right back. Okay, check this out. Whenever I'm working in limited space, I like to go vertical. So this is a vertical planter, really easy to install. It's just a post that's attached to a base, and it has 5 planters that could attach to it. First, you take the hooks, you put them in these little slots. You take the planter, slide it down until it clicks. So this will provide for 5 planters. Since you have a lot, I came with 2 of these.
Great.
And so we could transplant whatever you want from your pots, and then I brought a few things that we can install as well.
Sounds good.
All right. Okay, here's the second one. Can you hold that?
Sure.
And that. And then we're gonna put, let's see, insert to base. Okay, so we're gonna fill the pots halfway with potting soil. Not soil for the ground, but potting soil. It's a lighter medium, and I like to use organic soil when I'm growing edibles.
Jen, what's the white stuff in the soil?
That's called perlite. It helps with aeration. It's great for the plant growth. Let's start the transplanting. I think these peppers would be perfect. And since they're so tall, I think they should be on one of the bottom tiers. I'm gonna cut around it. All right, I think we're good. I'm just gonna pop it out. Just wanna be careful not to break it. And then bring it over to here. Can you put a little more soil under there?
Sure.
All right, that looks good. I'm gonna take the shovel out. And then you could backfill your side and I will backfill mine. Just make sure there's no air pockets around. That works.
Perfect.
Let's see if we can transplant your tomato plant as well. Let's see if it has a good orientation, meaning like I don't want it to flop one way. This guy needs a little bit of support. So I'm gonna pick, even with vegetables, you gotta pick a face. Which direction you want it to be pointing out.
That looks good.
That look okay?
Yeah.
Okay. And then backfill around the edges. I'm gonna use this stake just in case. I don't want it to, so we could just prop it up, give it a little more support, right? Okay, now let's plant some of the stuff I brought. This is oregano. It's a great complement to the tomatoes. Even though this is a natural casing for the plant, you definitely take it off.
Okay.
So what I'm thinking, it would be nice to have something cascade off the side and we could underplant the tomato with this oregano.
That looks great.
We're gonna put a couple of small lettuce plants in here.
And how much space should we leave between each plant?
We could plant them pretty close together so it fills up the whole pot.
Great.
So I think of this more as a grazing garden. We don't have a lot of space up here, so you pick and eat as you go, and then the plant will regenerate and produce more leaves. Now this is arugula. Love that color. This is Swiss chard. Has a nice flavor for salads. And rosemary. Squeeze that a little bit. Yeah. We have cilantro. We've got it all. And to top it off, we have some tarragon. Great job on the watering. You're really gonna need it with this intense sunlight up here. And not to mention, these look fantastic.
I agree, they're beautiful.
This squash, I didn't want to disturb it. So next year I'm thinking if we flank each corner with one of these, it'll help set the space and act as a nice green screen between you and your neighbor.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. These not only look beautiful, but clear up a lot of space up on the deck.
Excellent. Well, you're welcome.
Clever solution. Go vertical.
Go vertical. She definitely gained a lot of space there. A couple things that you have to think about when you have edibles: sunshine and water, right? Two important elements for their growth.
Yep, she's going to get plenty of sunshine. The water's going to be a little more difficult, right? So she's going to be doing watering cans.
She's going to be doing watering cans because she doesn't have a faucet nearby. But I don't know if you noticed, but there are a lot of pre-drilled holes on each bucket, right?
Yeah,
so they each get their dedicated line, and this is all drip irrigation.
And what's going on here? There are all the lines running right down through the middle to a central line?
The central line is all
You don't have to
located.
pick it up, but all right. Oh yeah, look at that.
Yep.
So each one of those zones has got a little T-fitting right there.
Yep.
Goes to this main line. And what is this being connected to?
That is being connected to this. So you need to start with a faucet, right? And this is a backflow preventer. And it also adjusts the frequency of water, pressure, and it's a timer as well.
Oh, cool. So
Okay.
we'll stop the
So
pressure
this,
down.
you pop this in here, and then you're all set. You go away for the weekend,
Yeah.
you have it on a timer.
Very clever. And I didn't see it in the piece, but I see it now that it's right in front of me. Each one of the buckets has actually got some holes in the bottom, so if you irrigate, you'll have drainage.
Absolutely, which is very important. You don't want it to overflow.
Yeah, that's great.
But another great thing, though, if you want to use it for a different use indoors, you could plug the bottom before you do the planting. It comes with these plugs, and then you could just have it in your house if you want to do indoor plants. It doesn't have to be edible garden outside.
Watering can, and you're not going to make a mess.
Yeah.
All right, clever solution. Thank you.
Go vertical.
Tommy, it looks like you got drill bits on your mind, right?
Yeah.
Look at all the selections you've got here.
There's quite a selection for drills. I mean, and these I think everybody knows is a twist drill.
Right.
And they're great for multiple purposes, to drilling wood, plastic, aluminum, steel. Different grades. There's a high-speed steel, and there's one with a coating on it meant to last a little longer, and a really higher end one that can withstand a lot of temperature.
The temperature actually starts to deform the metal a little bit and dulls the blade pretty
dulls the
quickly.
blade down,
and
yeah.
they can get hot when you're using them.
Yeah, that's why if you're cutting steel, you want to make sure you use a lubricant there.
Right.
It keeps the edge a little bit better.
Okay. And
So-
I guess you get what you pay for when it comes to the materials there.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now these drills over here are meant for, not for steel at all. They're meant to go into wood or plastic, and this is a spade bit. It's a pretty aggressive bit. These little edges right here are meant to score the product before you go in, so you don't get splintering as you're entering the hole.
Right. And this one's got the self-feeding tip right there.
That helps pull the drill bit through. This one doesn't have the threaded end there, so you have to push a little bit harder with this, but it still has those little edges right there to help clean the hole. But you got to be careful when you get to the other side because you will get a lot of blowout.
Yeah, they're pretty aggressive, but they're quick, so they're really not for finished carpentry, more of the rough carpentry.
Absolutely. This Forstner bit here is really a finished bit. It drills a nice, smooth, clean hole going in.
Well, you can imagine that a Forstner bit was used to drill the holes here in our table. That's super clean.
I wouldn't be surprised. The nice thing about these is when you're drilling a hole with it, you actually can drill a flat bottom hole. So think about it, if I'm going through a piece of wood and I don't want to have a hole on the other side, I wouldn't want to use something like this because that sticks down quite a bit.
Right, and when are you trying to get a flat bottom hole?
Well, let's say I want to put a dowel or a mortise into something. I want to go in just to a certain depth, and I can put a piece of wood in there and it'll lay nice and flat.
Perfect, all right.
This is a bit that I use a lot. I carry this with me all the time. These are tapered drill bits with a countersink right here. And the nice thing about a tapered drill bit, when I'm driving screws, you think about that screw. That screw is tapered. So it really holds the screw, allows the screw to hold well in the wood.
Ever since I borrowed one of these from your apron, I've really fallen in love with them. And it's got a little screw here that you use with an Allen key, which allows you to either adjust the length of this or replace it if it breaks or gets dull.
Right, so you can change it for the different types of screws.
I use yours all the time.
I bet you do. All right, so now here's one right here. If you notice on the twist bit, there's flat points, 3 flat points. So when you put that in the chuck, you want to try to line those flat points up with the teeth on the chuck. So now you don't have to really crank it down too tight, but if it's not seated right and you turn the grill on, it will come right out.
Right.
So you want to make sure it's seated, won't come out, and I can drill.
Yeah, and it's nice to have that keyless chuck. Big improvement over the old days.
Yeah, I mean, years ago, and I still have drills today. You put it on, then you got to find the key and crank it down. These are nice. If you have an impact driver, there's a tip on that. You can also use this in that chuck, but if you don't, you can just push it in, drill your hole, and take it off.
That tip is handy because you couldn't use an end like this in an impact driver.
Exactly.
You'd have to have a proper chuck.
Exactly.
So that one comes in handy right there.
Yep, so that's what you have for drills, and you can drill just about anything you want with the right bit.
When it comes to drill bits, options help.
Yep,
Nice
sure
job,
do.
Tommy. Hey, Richard.
Hey, how are you?
Hanging out with all your friends?
Welcome to the showroom.
What's going on here?
Thought I'd give you a little history lesson of toilets.
Okay.
So my grandfather first got into this game. The toilets would have been high on the wall. They would have used 5 gallons of water, and you flush them, they came zinging down, and they cleaned the toilet like crazy.
Yep.
And then they went to 3.5 gallons, and that's what the industry standard was for a long time, and the toilet would have looked like this. And it used those 3.5 gallons of water back then to sit in the tank right here, you'd flush it, and then the water would come down and flood down into the rim right here, and it would also create a siphon jet to pull the water up and away, and it would clean that bowl beautifully and would flush.
And a lot of water made it a lot easier, right?
That's right.
It cleaned the bowl better and it flushed that siphon
That's right.
better.
Then in 1992, the world changed, and the mandate came in to use 1.6, to use half the water. And it was really ahead of the industry being ready for it.
So we went from this big number to this medium number to this low number. This sort of engineering has never really changed,
Hasn't
right?
really
You've been
changed.
showing me that.
So it became a challenge. How do you use less water and still have it flush effectively, clean the bowl, and have it work within the plumbing system?
Okay.
So the people would get mad at the plumber. Look, we didn't do it. It was just
that what this
they'd
is
yell
all
at
about?
us. So
Sit on my couch.
So industry technology marched on, and this was the next iteration for us. They went 1.6, and then there was the dual flush. So you'd have one button for solids, that was 1.6, but this would be for liquids, that was 1.0.
Yeah.
The net was that you'd be about 1.25.
I see them. I don't see a lot of them.
No, it was sort of a niche. It never really took off. Like it's used all the rest of the world. It's used in Europe all the time and
Right.
parts of Asia. So the next thing that's happening now in this country is water sensors come along. It's much like Energy Star for electrical appliances.
Right.
And that is a way where there's a rating system to invite people to change the physics or the technology inside to make it get down to 1.28 on every flush.
1.28 is a long way from 5 or 3 gallons
That's
per
right,
flush.
right. So recently I got a chance to go to a laboratory where all these people do is think all day about how to fight the physics of making a toilet work properly. It was really fun.
Your kind of people.
That's right. So James, it's nice to be here in your world.
Thank you, Richard. It's nice to have you. Welcome to our engineering design facility. At this facility, our job is to re-engineer plumbing products to be much more efficient and much more effective.
You know, and the pressure's really on to save water worldwide. You know, governments are mandating, consumers are asking for lower consumption, and you're the king of the toilet, I'm told.
I am the king of the toilet, and that makes my job even more difficult because the toilet is the largest consumer of water in the home today. It's about 30% of the water consumed in the home. But it still has to maintain the three basic functions of a toilet, even with less water. It has to remove bulk. It has to keep the bowl clean, no staining.
And that wasn't the case with some of those early low-consumption toilets.
And we got a lot of complaints about that.
Sure.
And very importantly, it has to maintain proper drain line carry, meaning it has to carry the waste and water to the sewer system and the septic system.
So it has to work with the existing plumbing systems we've got out there.
It sure does, all with less water.
All right. So I see a big computer screen here. Is it all done by computer now?
Yep, Nitin here is running our computer simulations. We're interested in measuring the speed of the water, the velocity of the water, the power of the water. We can even measure the consumption of the water. And we're able to do quick changes to different areas to get different measurements until we're completely satisfied we've got the optimum hydraulic platform on the computer. Once we're comfortable with the computer simulation, we will go to rapid prototyping where we can build up the engine, and Martin here will test it for all sorts of different factors, including consumption.
Right.
And once we're happy with the end product,
prototype,
we'll go and design the toilet to look like
so it looks like a
beautiful toilet.
Right.
Yep.
But then you have to make sure that it works in the real world.
We do have to do that. There's a series of industry standard tests that we have to abide by with toilets. This is a critical test. It's called drain line carry. It measures the ability of a toilet to flush waste down the drain pipe to the sewer system.
All right, so it looks like you've simulated a two-story house here, 2 levels of toilets coming down into a drain line here.
That's correct. And we're using a 4-inch drain line that's at a 1/4-inch pitch per foot.
Pretty much the industry standard.
That is the standard.
But we could be as low as an 1/8 of an inch per foot, which is even harder to get the solids to move along.
That's correct.
All right, so is this what you flush down?
We flush down 100 3/4-inch poly balls. It has to go down a minimum of 40 feet, and we're flushing at 1.28 gallons per flush, which is the toughest water restriction standards in the country, particularly in California.
All right, you ready for your test?
We're ready. Okay, Bob's going to go ahead and dump the poly balls into the toilet. We're going to perform the test and see how well we do. Well, here they come.
Here it goes.
There we go. There we go.
Looks like you easily made it to 40 feet. Look at that thing go. Plenty of power.
It looks like we passed. Good job. Over here, we have another series of very important tests. With less and less water today, we have to make sure the toilet flushes everything out of the bowl itself.
Absolutely.
So what we're going to do is a mixed media test where
black and white things, yep.
Yep, 2,500 mixed media that have various buoyancy factors, some float, some sink,
floaters and
some
sinkers?
semi-float.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
And the test says that we have to flush 95% of this out of the bowl to pass.
Okay.
Yep.
That's, I think that's a pretty high percentage.
Yeah, I'd say out of the 2,500, we've got all but 4. Another test that we perform is the toilet's ability to remove bulk. And to do that, we test miso paste in a sleeve.
Oh boy, look at that.
Yep.
Yeah.
The minimum that we have to test to is 7 links of miso.
Yep.
In this test, we're going to test up to 12 links.
Oh, go big or go home.
That's right. We're going to really stretch it.
Oh, look at that.
With these new low-flow toilets, they still have to pass all of the tests that I showed you. But what we're seeing are homeowners starting to complain about the cleanability or the rim wash of the toilet bowl itself.
Complain. They hate it.
They can't
All
stand
the staining.
it. Yep.
All right, well, I think it's important to understand what goes on inside of a toilet. Here's a cutaway of a typical toilet. When we're sitting at rest, you can see there's water. The blue is where the water is, and it creates a trap seal so no sewer gas comes up here. Now, you've got a tank right here. You hit the tank lever, a flapper rises like this, and water from the tank comes down through the flush valve and goes into this upper chamber. And it's going to push water down through a passageway. About 70% of the water is going to come out through this little hole at the bottom. Now that's a siphon jet that pushes water up the trapway this way. And when it gets over the top of the hill, it creates a siphon at that point, and that'll pull all the water and solid out of the bowl. So now at the very same time that most of the water is going here, about 30% is going into this rim. And the rim right here has little tiny holes that people always complain about that get clogged, and it's just not enough to clean this. What happens at the end of the cycle is the flapper closes, the air is allowed to come in through the overflow, breaking the vacuum, and there's an air gap between the water in the bowl and the water in the tank.
You're exactly right, and there lies the problem, that air gap. When we flush the product, the water loses a lot of its force and velocity by displacing the air, pushing it out in order to fire the bowl jet to create the siphon. We still need that same ratio of water to do that. So what suffers is our bowl cleanliness or our rim wash. So we can't or couldn't go any lower in consumption until we address that air gap issue and solved for it.
So what'd you do?
We ended up separating the flush valves for the rim area and the siphon jet bowl area. Okay, so you see here on this clear see-through tank, two flush valves. The flush valve for the rim area is a conventional flush valve with the overflow.
Right.
Okay, the bowl siphon jet flush valve is sealed to air, so we prime that bowl and don't allow air into the bowl itself.
So when this thing closes, it closes tight. That's like putting your finger on the end of a straw, so it'll trap water between the tank and the bowl?
Exactly. So now we only need 30% of the water to fire the trap to flush it. 70% is dedicated to the rim wash.
That'll keep it clear. Can I flush?
Go ahead. So what you see is it looked like it flushed much more. That was only 1.28 gallons.
That's something.
What you also see is we've eliminated the undercuts with the rim punchings.
All those holes?
That trap dirt.
Yeah.
And you have one strong, powerful jet that scours the entire bowl.
That's pretty cool. Well, if we're going to keep saving water, we're going to need creative solutions like you've done here. Thanks so much for your good work.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for watching. This Old House has got a video for just about every home improvement project, so be sure to check out the others. And if you like what you see, click on the subscribe button to make sure that you get our newest videos right in your feed.